Hi, good morning. Uh, it is a good morning too. It's been hot for the last few days, sunny, and today is a little windy and cold, hence the jacket. Uh, I'm good in the heat, but I enjoy the cool as well. Okay. Uh, I'd like to talk today about gateways or portals. These are gateways and portals are signposts, benchmarks, and it can help you to chart your progress along your spiritual exploration, and it can also assist you to find the way to what you need to know, what you want to know, what you might be desiring to know. So, I enjoy science fiction, and portals and gateways are a big part of science fiction. And as I want to do, I was kind of reflecting on science fiction, and I remember talking about fact, fiction, belief, opinions. And so I looked at science fiction. And one of my points was that maybe the fiction in science is a bigger part than we've been led to believe. Science fiction stresses the science. Science in the future, science in a fictional sense. But perhaps they're one and the same. One of that goes right, some concept straight from science fiction, which is not beyond the pale, is not beyond reasonableness. They talk about wormholes. Now, wormhole is a fold in the fabric of time, space. It's a fold, and going through the wormhole will allow you to be faster than light. Another topic of science fiction. Indeed, would there be a way to travel faster than light? And I might suggest that there already is. And quantum physics is starting to support such a wild speculation. So, a fold in the fabric of space-time, which will allow you, through the hole, to be in a completely different part of the universe, almost immediately. So, a gateway. What is a gateway? Well, a gateway implies that there's a gate that can close on a road or a path. But it can also open. And I'm more interested in opening than I am in closing. Although again, they're opposites that become the same. I heard this saying before that when an opportunity closes, a chance for an opportunity closes, something else possibly will open. The ending of a relationship, the ending of a job, the ending of a career, retirement. All these things are seen as closures. But remember, the gate that closes also opens. So, and portals give you access to points beyond. So I'm using the analogy of gateways and portals to suggest ways along your path that you might be aware of and that you might want to pay attention to. When you run up against a barrier, and this is an inevitable part of any quest, of any search, of any journey, that you run up against an obstacle and it looks like it can't be overcome. And I'm not going to suggest some obstacles, but we each have our own, and we each encounter them and react to them and respond to them in our own unique way. And we're taught that obstacles are meant to be overcome by a physical effort, by a physical confrontation. You can overcome your obstacles. And this is seen as a measurement on the path to success. Success in the egoic sense. And it implies action, taking action to overcome this obstacle. Well, I'd like to go out on a limb and suggest another alternative. Passive approach instead of an active approach. Probably most of us will come to passive when we've not been able to succeed with an active methodology, an active way to overcome the obstacle. Climb over the obstacle, dig under the obstacle. And then, out of frustration almost, out of resignation, out of giving up, we might decide to explore the passive alternatives. But what I love about passive and passivity is the opportunity it provides to take a pause, to reflect, to breathe, to let go of anxiety and fear, or at least to examine what's the source of any anxiety or fear that you might be experiencing. So once you find the source, you can work at putting anxieties and fears themselves at rest. So here's this passive perspective. And it involves use of all your senses, being aware of which direction that your senses are directing you. Remember, we use that phrase. That makes sense. And that means to me that that's using your senses well. So, look for this gateway. And a gateway is a more physical manifestation. You may see a gate. It may be visual. And a good place to start, in my estimation, is to call out to the gatekeeper. Hey, gatekeeper, open sesame, open the door. And in many sense we could see our higher self. Ethereal, I was trying to pronounce that the other day. Ethereal body, light body, higher self. Could be a gatekeeper. I know in my case the gatekeepers are pretty active because I said before, when I need to know something, I will know it. My gatekeeper lets it through. This gatekeeper is protecting my limited resources from the overwhelming amount of information, knowledge, wisdom that is available in the moment. But if we got it all, at least I don't know, maybe you could handle it better than I could, but if I got it all, look for a short circuit. So, call out to the gatekeeper. Now, maybe not every gate may have a keeper. So then you start looking for that way to, another way, an alternative way to open the gate. And patience is, as they say, a virtue. So this may be a timely process, but be that as it may, it's unnecessary for you, for individual effort. It's a necessary pausing point, resting place, beginning place. And if you saw it in such a light, if you saw that when the time was right, when my breathing is in sync, when I'm in sync with, when I'm at ease with, when I'm at peace with everything around me, that the gate might just swing open. And there's your path again, which you happily, or even reluctantly, depending on how much fear and anxiety is a part of who and what you think you are, you're back on the path again. And I think the gateway is a signpost. This gateway is a signpost of, I hesitate to call it progress, but we need some way to measure it. It's certainly not regression. You're certainly not going backwards, or you wouldn't have made it to the gateway in the first place. The way of the gate. Follow the way of the gate. And all the gates will lead you to the same place eventually. All the paths will end up in the same spirit in the same all-encompassing oneness, unity that the universe is. So a gateway can be more of a visual. You really can sense that indeed, or you can see, physically see the gate. At other times on your journey, you may come to what I call a portal. Now, portals are very interesting because they might not be observable. You might not be able to see a portal. At least, maybe you can see the portal once you find it, once you're in it, once you're passing through it. So a portal could be mixed up somewhere in that thinking, feeling arena. But in both cases, whether it's a gateway or a portal, the defining factor, the factor of utmost importance, is that you're sensitive, is that you're seeking, is that you're searching, at least on a passive level, as an observer, as a witness. And the portal can lead you in your path may take a fork in the road. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there's a lot of sidebars, there's a lot of other paths that if you let the intellect, if you let your feeling, if you let your ego dominate or speak to you the most loudly or respond to them the most immediately, can lead you all kinds of places of interest, and definitely worth a look if you are so inclined, because there will be another lesson on this, even on the going sideways. There's lessons in that. Maybe you're content with only going so far on the path, and that you would like to manifest, you would like to express, you'd like to share what your journey has brought to you so far. Yes, some of us are content, and yet other souls are more relentless. They're ignoring the ones that take them sideways, thinking, yeah, maybe I'll come back and take a look at another time. Another lifetime? Yeah. And maybe there's insights, and certainly insights and things worth discovering, even though you're going sideways. But those of you that are sincere, those of you that have tasted the absence of fear, those of you that have put to rest anxiety, put to rest feelings of lesser than, and more subtly, but equally important, put to rest ideas of better than someone else or something else. So these gateways and portals, or the purpose is that to test your resolve, to test how much you are dedicated or devoted to what you seek, the truth, what you seek, what is. Maybe in that process, questions like the whys and the hows and the whats and the whens have dropped aside. And left only what is. And it's not a question, it's a statement. So, we see these can be seen as measurements, as signposts that help you evaluate, calculate, judge. Like the word judge, but respond, recognize where you are at any given moment on your search of self-inquiry. This search requires you to put so many things down, to set them down. I spoke before, each of us can be seen carrying a bag of shit, a bag of hopes, desires, the opposites of desires, the hopelessness, our failures, or what ifs, or should have, could have, would have, the conditional tense. It just makes us too bored because the load is so heavy. And just as temples are at the top of stairs, we use the metaphor of climbing a mountain to show the effort, to appreciate the effort that this journey takes. Anything that you can get to too easily, perhaps is not worth having, is without meaningful, not meaningful. So, burdens, we need to put that one down and stand up straight. Breathe out, breathe. Enjoy the view from wherever you are. Appreciate yourself for your efforts. Appreciate your hard work and dedication. Appreciate the better feelings that you're experiencing, the betterment, how you're feeling that you're a better person by putting these things down. First, your big bag of shit that we all carry, the burdens, and then alongside of that you can put all the other things. Judgment, greed, jealousies, less than truthfulness. Instead of saying lying, let's be kind to ourselves. When we're being less than truthful, put these burdens down. Fears, fear of death, fear of change, fear of responsibility, fear of intimacy. Whatever guise the fear is in, is basically the same voice. The fears come from our ego, from our egoic structure And once we begin glimpsing what is, once we begin tasting, hearing, touching what is, that becomes all the reward we'll ever need. This becomes the pathway, recognizing eternal in its entirety, witnessing God, who you think you were, who you think you are, who you think you will be, is only that, thinking. And we've already relegated thinking to the arena of for entertainment purposes only. So I just like to remind you that, again, when you don't feel like you're making progress, slow down, breathe, take a passive perspective. And while I'm suggesting this, I'm not trying to say that there isn't a time in our journey where active efforts are really useful, but they become less useful when we meet obstacles, which we surely will. And obstacles have, again, many purposes. And maybe one of the purposes is slow down and enjoy where you are. And this is what I'm talking about by passive. Breathe. Go for a walk. Go in the ocean. Go in the deep forest. Climb a mountain. And when you least suspect it, when you least anticipate, it's when you see a gateway or you sense a portal. And this is the first step to passing through these things and seeing where they lead you. And I think sometimes things can get pretty hectic, both in our day-to-day life and our spiritual inquiry. Things can get hectic. Things can get overwhelming. I've shared with you that bliss for me is a very overwhelming thing. It's the intensity. The intensity is just incredible. So maybe those plateaus, maybe a few valleys along the way leading to the next mountain, the next plateau, should be times of enjoyment instead of impatience. Maybe there should be time of self-reflection. And most importantly, to get as much enjoyment out of this process that you can. Appreciate instead of meet it with appreciation. Obstacles, meet them with appreciation instead of impatience. Impatience doesn't serve you very well because you're getting nowhere because there's nowhere to go and you're already at the destination. As before we were born, we knew what and who and why we were. And through the process of birth, the process of using our senses to accumulate self-image, to support and listen to the ego. But getting back to the age of innocence, getting back to where you were before you started these accumulations of measurements, this accumulation of feelings, this accumulation of thinking, this accumulation of seeing what you think you're seeing anyway. Naming things is part of it. Oh, that's a tree. Is it? Yes, it is. I'm certain of that. Yeah, certainty is another signpost. Then, undoubtedly, you're wrong. In my life, I found that certainty is a signpost that I need to rethink, revisit. When I say, I'm certain, I'm positive, well, life has proven beyond a doubt to me that when I make these statements, I'm undoubtedly incorrect. I'm undoubtedly making a mistake. I'm wrong. And time, passage of linear time, measured time, will shortly prove that my certainty turned to dust. My certainty was not certain at all. So now I just catch myself, and very rarely will I say, I'm certain, I'm positive, because I believe this is a fool's game. Only fools are certain, because certainty blinds you to alternatives. It shuts down your senses. So we see, I hope we see, that look for gateways, look for portals, look for the wormhole, a fold in the space-time, a fold in space-time. Be aware, look for them. Rejoice when instead of you see an obstacle, rejoice in it. Because it gives you opportunity to pause. It gives you an opportunity to find the gateway to go through the portal.